Caldrix 9 was a planet no one visited unless they had to. It wasn't a home, or even a battleground anymore. It was a massive junkyard orbiting a dead sun. For centuries, the great alien empires had used it as a dumping ground for broken machines, failed weapons, and forgotten experiments. Ships that once flew proudly across the stars now lay shattered and rusting. Among the heaps of twisted metal, scorched engines, and dead war machines, there was something different, something still alive. Buried beneath layers of wreckage, half hidden under a broken wing of a Zenthian battlecruiser, lay a metal capsule. Its once shiny surface was now burned and scratched, but faint lights still blinked weakly on its side. Inside that pod was a girl not fully human, not fully alien. Her skin was pale silver, her hair dark and tangled, and small horns curled from her temples. She was a hybrid, created during the last Great War by the Zenthian Empire. They had designed her to be the perfect infiltrator, faster, stronger, able to connect to machines with her mind. But when she refused to kill children during a mission, they called her broken, useless, a failed weapon. So they locked her in the capsule, labeled it as scrap, and dumped her into the junkyard to be forgotten. She had remained there for months, barely alive, trapped in sleep, her body weakened by the cold and her mind drifting in silence. No one came. No one cared. Then a sound cut through the silence, the low hum of an approaching ship. Sleek, dark, and silent, the human vessel descended through the clouds of metal and smoke. It was old, patched together from different parts, but it flew steady. Its pilot, Captain Jace Thorne, was once part of Earth's defense fleet, but now he worked alone, scavenging tech from old battlegrounds to help the scattered human colonies survive. Earth had been thrown out of the Galactic Council decades ago, mocked as primitive, punished for refusing to bow. But humans were stubborn. They didn't die off. They adapted, fought back, and now they were surviving on the edges of the galaxy, still building, still dreaming. Jace had come to Caldrix 9 for parts old tech, power cores, maybe even a working IA core. But the moment he stepped out onto the wreckage, something pulled at him. His scanner beeped faintly, picking up a weak life sign. He followed it through the maze of metal and broken war machines, climbing over debris and dodging the occasional sparking wire. That's when he saw the capsule dot. It was half buried, cracked but intact. His suit scanner confirmed it. A living being was still inside. Carefully, he wiped away grime from the small window, and he saw her. A girl, eyes closed, her chest barely rising. She looked peaceful, but something about her made him pause. He tapped on the glass. Slowly, her eyes fluttered open. They glowed softly, silver light shining through the dim capsule. She didn't speak. She didn't scream. But somehow, he felt her words in his head. One simple plea, help me. Jace had seen a lot of strange things in his life. Rogue AI gods, living gas clouds, even time rifts, but this was different. This was a person. Someone they'd thrown away like trash. Without hesitating, Jace reached for the release hatch and pulled it open. Sparks flew, steam hissed out, and the door cracked wide. The girl fell forward and he caught her in his arms. She was light, like she hadn't eaten in days. As soon as he held her, alarms screamed from hidden speakers around them. Old Zenthian security systems woke up, sensing the unauthorized capsule breach. Red lights flared. Defense turrets hidden in the junk shifted into place. Old drones still active rose from piles of metal with glowing red eyes. Far above, a patrol beacon flashed, and a Zenthian ship began descending from orbit. They were coming not just for the girl, but for whoever had dared to touch her. Jace looked down at the hybrid girl in his arms. She stared back at him, eyes wide but calm. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She simply looked at him with silent trust. He gritted his teeth and nodded. He wasn't about to let her die here, not when she'd already been abandoned once. Not while he was still breathing. As laser fire rained down from the sky and drones began to swarm, Jace ran. He ran through the twisted remains of dead war machines, dodging fire and debris, holding the strange girl close. The sky above Caldrix 9 lit up with fire and smoke, and the ground shook beneath his feet. But Jace didn't stop, because he wasn't just carrying a hybrid experiment. He was carrying a second chance, something powerful, something alive, something the galaxy had thrown away. But he had found her, and he wasn't letting go. As the sky above Caldrix 9 filled with flames, Captain Jace Thorne ran through the maze of twisted wreckage, his boots pounding against broken metal. The hybrid girl he had rescued from the capsule Kara lay weak in his arms, her breath shallow, her skin cold against his armor. Behind him, the planet's long-dormant defense systems had awakened. Automated turrets swiveled into position, their barrels glowing. Security drones, long buried under dust and decay, rose on whirring jets. Far overhead, the Zenthian patrol ship that had detected the alarm was closing in fast, its shadow growing. Larger against the blood-red sky, Jace didn't stop. He pushed his legs harder, weaving through broken ships and fallen towers, jumping over wrecked drones and burnt armor. His ship wasn't far. If he could just reach it, he could escape, could save her. A sharp blast struck near him, sending shards of molten metal flying. He ducked behind the shattered hull of a rusted war mech, breathing hard. The girl stirred in his arms, her eyes fluttering open again. They met his, glowing faintly with silver light. Then, without a word, she lifted her hand. Jace felt something strange in the air-like static before a lightning strike. The ground vibrated. In front of them, one of the approaching drones froze mid-flight. It twitched, then its metal body twisted inward, crushed as if by an invisible fist. Kara's fingers trembled as she lowered her arm. She had done that. "You can fight?" Jace asked, still catching his breath. Kara nodded weakly. "I don't remember everything," she said softly, her voice rough and unused, "but I know how to stop them. My mind connects to machines. But it hurts." She closed her eyes for a moment, breathing slowly. "I'll try again." Jace pulled his rifle and handed her a small energy pack. "Then we buy time, together." The two of them moved like lightning, Jace firing precise shots to disable turret sensors, Kara stopping drones midair with invisible force or turning their targeting systems against each other. The enemy had numbers, but they had speed, skill, and something else, will. Jace fought with the cold fire of a soldier who'd survived too many battles, and Kara, despite her weakness, used her strange abilities with growing confidence. When one drone got too close, she made it crash into a tower. When a turret locked onto Jace, she made its lens shatter with a blink. Step by step, blast by blast, they reached the landing zone. Jace's ship, the Valkyrie, was still hidden beneath a tarp of scorched plating. He tapped the side panel, and the boarding ramp hissed open. As they climbed inside, the Zenthian patrol ship finally arrived. It wasn't just a scout, it was a full interceptor, armed and deadly. Its engines roared as it hovered above the Junkyard, scanning for targets. Within seconds, its underbelly opened, dropping down a squad of hunter-killers' giant machines. With blades for arms and plasma cannons on their shoulders, Kara looked through the viewport, her face pale. "They're here for me." Jace fired up the ship's engines. "Then let's give them a warm welcome." The Valkyrie lifted into the air, and the battle began again, this time in the skies. Kara, strapped into the co-pilot seat, tapped into the ship's system. Her presence flowed through the circuits like liquid thought, boosting the weapon responses, sharpening sensors, and bending the electronic interface to her will. Jace took control of the flight path, dodging blasts, spinning through falling debris and weaving between the skeletons of long-dead ships. Kara's mind moved faster than the enemy's computers. She redirected missiles, jammed targeting systems, and even hacked one of the hunter-killers mid-flight, turning it on its own squad. It tore through them before exploding in a fireball. Still, more were coming. The Zenthian interceptor locked on, firing a wide beam that clipped the Valkyrie's wing. The ship shook violently. Kara gasped, blood trickling from her nose as she pushed her power farther than before. She whispered to the ship's systems, merging with the AI core, overclocking its shields. Jace aimed their plasma cannon and fired a full spread into the patrol ship's underbelly. The shot struck hard, and the patrol ship spun, one of its engines trailing fire. "Now!" Kara shouted. Jace launched the final pulse torpedo straight into the patrol ship's core. It exploded in a flash of white and blue. Smoke and burning parts rained down on Caldrix 9. The sky lit up, then went quiet. The Valkyrie shot out of the planet's gravity well, breaking through the last layer of atmosphere. As stars filled the cockpit view, Jace finally allowed himself a breath. Kara slumped in her seat, eyes closed, her breathing slow again. He reached over, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You're not broken," he said. "You're not a weapon. You're someone who deserves to live." She looked at him with tired but grateful eyes. As the stars drifted silently outside the ship's window, Jace guided the Valkyrie through the quieter paths of space, away from the war zones and patrol routes. The battle on Caldrix 9 was over, but he knew it was just the beginning. He had rescued Kara, a hybrid who was never meant to survive, and now the entire Galactic Council would come hunting. They didn't allow failures to escape, especially ones that could turn into threats. Kara sat quietly in the co-pilot's chair, a blanket wrapped around her shoulders, her silver eyes staring at the stars. She hadn't spoken much since they escaped. Jace noticed the tension in her hands, the way she gripped the edge of the seat like she was still bracing for impact. She didn't know how to be free. No one had taught her. She had lived her life in silence and isolation, used as a tool, then discarded. He brought her a ration bar and a bottle of water. She looked at them strangely at first, then took them with a soft thank you. Her voice was quiet, almost shy, as though she wasn't used to being heard. Jace sat across from her in the small mess room of the ship and asked, "What's your name?" She hesitated, then said, "Kara. That was my real name before they locked me up. After that, they just called me Unit K7. Jace nodded. "Kara suits you better." There was a silence between them, calm but heavy. Then she spoke again. "They built me to be a weapon. I was designed with Zenthian and human DNA, meant to think like a human but obey like a machine. They used me to steal, to hack, to destroy. But the first time I refused to follow orders, they called me broken. I wouldn't kill a group of children. So they shut me down and threw me away." Her voice didn't crack, but her fingers trembled. Jace didn't try to offer false comfort. Instead, he leaned forward. "You're not a weapon now. You're free. What do you want to do?" Kara looked surprised. No one had ever asked her that. Her eyes narrowed thoughtfully, and she whispered, "I want to make sure they never do it again. I want to stop them from hurting others like me." Jace asked her what she meant. She said that while she was connected to the war code during the battle, she felt echoes like whispers from a hidden network. It wasn't just leftover data. It was live. She could feel the presence of other hybrids, not awake, but still locked away. She said there was a central place where they kept control of the war code, a moon-sized machine in orbit of the Zenthian homeworld. It was called the Control Moon. If they could reach it, Kara believed she could link into it and free the others. But it was also heavily guarded, nearly impossible to get close to and filled with traps made to stop beings like her. Jace leaned back thinking. Earth had no real allies left in the galaxy. Humanity had been pushed to the edge, its people scattered across colonies, treated like criminals. But Kara wasn't just a lost experiment, she could be the key to something bigger. He knew he couldn't do it alone. So he sent a message using an encrypted human channel to Earth Command. Found hybrid, alive, dangerous to enemies. Mission, heading for Control Moon. Backup needed. The message was risky. If intercepted, they'd be hunted harder. But he had no choice. Kara's plan wasn't just revenge, it was hope. Jace looked at her again and saw more than power in her. He saw pain, strength, and something rare in their part of space courage. She wasn't running from the Council. She was planning to face them. They worked together for the next few hours. Kara rested and then connected to the ships. Systems, using her mind to explore old Council pathways and shadow channels. Her presence in the system felt almost like magic to Jace. She didn't just type, she spoke to machines with her thoughts. The Valkyrie became faster, more responsive. Even the damaged sensors now worked with strange clarity. Jace mapped a path. Toward Zenthia Prime. They'd have to travel through dead zones, black markets, and pirate sectors. It would be dangerous. Kara didn't blink. If we reach the Control Moon, I can connect. I can wake them, Jace asked. What happens after? Kara looked away. I don't know. I wasn't made to last. Every time I use the war code, it takes something from me. But if I can give them freedom, maybe that's enough. Jace stood, grabbed his coat, and headed to the cockpit. We're not dying yet, Kara. Let's give the galaxy something to remember us by. She smiled, just barely, and followed. Him. Outside, the stars waited. Behind them was a world that tried to bury her. Ahead was the heart of the empire that had made her. But now she had a ship, a name, and a human who refused to give up. And that was enough to start a war. Far from the edge of human space, the Galactic Council sat in their shining halls, surrounded by their fleets and wealth, confident in their control over the stars. When news of the hybrid's escape reached them, their calm shattered. Kara, one of their Forbidden's creations, had not only survived, she had awakened. Worse, she was no longer alone. A human had helped her. That made it worse than a broken experiment. It was now a symbol of rebellion. The Zenthian elders called an emergency meeting. They showed images of the destroyed drone squads. On Caldrix 9, the wreckage of the patrol ship burning in orbit, and the strange energy pattern left behind by Kara's mind. Their conclusion was simple. She had to be erased before she reached the Control Moon. If she connected with the others, if she set them free, Council would lose its most powerful secret weapon. So they sent out a signal. Every bounty hunter, every patrol ship, every loyal fleet was ordered to search and destroy. And they placed a price on Kara's head so large it made entire pirate clans change course to hunt her down. The message was clear: kill the hybrid and kill the human protecting her. Meanwhile, aboard the Valkyrie, Kara and Jace traveled through dangerous sectors, always on the move, hiding in nebula clouds, silent zones, and shattered asteroid belts. They stopped once on a lawless moon to refuel and trade for supplies. The place was filled with smugglers, war criminals, and alien mercenaries. As they walked through the dusty outpost, Jace noticed the way others looked at them: fear, interest, and greed all mixed together. The bounty was already known. Posters of Kara's face, drawn from her old records, were everywhere. But her eyes were different now. She wasn't scared. She stared back with quiet fire. They met a trader named Dax, an old friend of Jace's, who had once served in the Earth fleet before becoming a runner. Dax told them what the council had done, how it had spread lies that Kara was unstable, a threat to entire systems. They're painting her like a monster, he said. And humans are getting blamed too, Jace just nodded. Let them talk. She's not the monster they are. Kara remained silent, listening. Then she spoke softly. We need allies. Even one ship can help. There are others like me, still sleeping, still trapped. But I can't reach them from here. The control. Moon is locked down behind energy shields and war protocols. It's too strong for one ship. Jace turned to Dax. We need a way in. Dax hesitated, then handed over a data chip. This is an old route. A dark jump gate, long abandoned. It'll get you close, maybe too close. If you use it, they'll know. But you'll be inside their walls before they can react. Jace took the chip. That's good enough. As they returned to the ship, Kara placed her hand on one of the rusty hulls in the port. Her eyes closed, and the lights flickered. Then pulsed. The machines around her felt her presence. Old systems whispered to life. Forgotten weapons turned to face her enemies. Kara wasn't just a hybrid anymore. She was becoming something more. As they left the outlaw moon, a squad of bounty ships chased them through the asteroid fields. Kara reached into the ship's systems, guiding Jace's hands with her mind. Their ship danced through the rocks, flipping and diving, dodging blasts while Kara turned the enemy missiles back against their own launchers. Jace fired the cannons, hitting fuel pods and wings, breaking enemy formations. In the chaos, they escaped through the dark jump gate. The ride was rough. The gate hadn't been used in years. The ship shook violently, alarms blaring, bolts snapping loose. But they came out on the other side silent and unnoticed, only a few thousand kilometers from the control moon. Jace looked at the massive structure floating above Zenthia Prime. It was a moon, but also a machine, a prison, and a mind. Kara stared at it, her fingers shaking. They're still there, she whispered. So many. Like me, sleeping, dreaming. I can hear them now. But they're afraid. Some are fading. She looked at Jace with tears in her silver eyes. We're running out of time. He reached out and took her hand. Then we make this count. Far. Behind them, the Council finally traced their jump. The Council fleet, made of ships from several alien races, began to move. Destroyers, carriers, and elite strike ships all turned toward the control moon. They would not allow the hybrid army to wake. They would destroy everything to stop it. But on the Valkyrie, there was no fear. Jace and Kara stared at the glowing moon, now so close they could see its towers. They knew what had to be done. The galaxy had abandoned her. They had mocked humans. But together, one hybrid girl and one stubborn human, they would change everything. The control moon loomed ahead, massive and silent, its smooth surface covered in towers, guns, and glowing walls of energy. It didn't look like a moon, it looked like a fortress built for one purpose: control. Inside it, thousands of hybrid. Soldiers like Kara were trapped in deep sleep, their minds locked away, their bodies sealed in stasis capsules. The Council had kept them hidden for years, intending to use them only if the galaxy ever turned against them. But now, one of those hybrids was awake, and she was coming back not to serve, but to break the rest free. Jace and Kara sat in the dim cockpit of the Valkyrie, just outside the detection range of the control moon's outer defenses. They knew they couldn't wait. The longer they stayed still, the closer the Council fleet would come. Already, long-range scans showed ships warping toward their location. Dozens of red signals blinked on the screen. Kara stared at them without blinking. Once we enter the control field, they'll know. I'll only have minutes before they send everything they have to stop us. Jace tightened the grip on the ship's controls. Then let's make those minutes count. They powered up the engines and surged forward, blasting toward the moon's surface. Immediately, alarms echoed. From the control moon and its shields flared with light. Defense turrets came to life, sending streams of plasma fire across space. Automated fighters launched from hidden bays, their engines glowing bright as they locked onto the Valkyrie. Kara linked into the ship's systems again, her mind flowing through wires and circuits, boosting shield output, directing power to the engines. Jace flew like lightning, twisting and turning the ship between waves of fire. He pushed the Valkyrie harder than it had ever flown, dodging blasts so close they lit the cockpit with flashes of blue and orange. Kara's hands trembled as she held the systems together. Her veins glowed under her skin, the energy inside her building higher and higher. They punched through the outer defenses, skimming across the moon's surface, heading toward a weak point Kara had found in the shield layers. A damaged port, half covered in debris. It was once used to bring in hybrid capsules. Now it would be their way in. With a final blast of speed, Jace slammed the ship into the port and activated the magnetic anchors. The moment the ship latched on, Kara jumped out of her seat and ran to the airlock. Jace followed her, both of them stepping into the cold, metallic halls of the control moon. The place was eerily quiet, filled with dim lights and the hum of machines that had not seen visitors in years. Kara guided them through narrow paths, turning sharply through forgotten corridors, leading them toward the central control core, the heart of the system that held the hybrids in sleep. But the Council was faster than expected, even as they moved. Through the moon's interior, enemy ships landed on the other side. Heavily armed troops stormed in, elite guardians with armor that shimmered and weapons that glowed. Jace and Kara didn't stop. He fired at the first wave of enemies, laying down suppressive blasts as Kara raced ahead. The walls shook as the control moon activated its security system laser traps, locking doors and defense bots. Kara pushed her power harder, shutting down systems with her mind, forcing open sealed paths, disabling enemy scanners. But the effort drained her. Blood slipped from her nose again. Her steps grew slower. Finally, they reached the core. It was a massive chamber, glowing with red light. In the center stood a tall machine filled with hundreds of blinking lights. The war code lived there. Kara stepped forward and placed both hands on the console. The lights responded instantly. Her body tensed and the floor vibrated. Her eyes flashed silver as she entered the war code directly, connecting her mind to every sleeping hybrid on the moon. Jace watched in silence, holding the door against the approaching enemies. The sound of plasma blasts and shouting grew louder, but he didn't move. His job now was to protect her at all costs. Inside the code, Kara felt thousands of minds. Some were faint, barely alive. Others were stronger, dreaming in silence. They were afraid, confused, but when they felt Kara's presence strong, clear, and defiant, they responded. One by one, she spoke to them without words, telling them they were free, that they didn't have to obey anymore, that they could wake up. Capsules across the moon hissed open. Metal lids lifted. Eyes opened. The hybrids were waking, but so was the weapon hidden beneath the core. The Council had placed a final defense deep inside the moon, a machine made to destroy everything in case the hybrids were ever turned. It powered up now, sensing the change, charging a pulse that could wipe out the entire moon and everything inside it. Kara felt it too. Her body shook as she tried to stop it, but her mind was stretched thin. Jace rushed to her side. "Tell me what to do." Kara pointed to a backup line. "You have to cut it. But it's protected. You'll have to fight your way in." Jace didn't hesitate. He ran down the side corridor as Kara stayed, holding the minds of the hybrids steady, guiding them into freedom. Even as her body began to fail, explosions rocked the chamber. The weapons countdown continued. The choice was simple now: fight or die. And neither Kara nor Jace had ever been the kind to give up. The floor of the control moon shook under Jace's feet as he ran down the corridor, smoke and sparks raining from overhead vents. Every step he took echoed against the steel walls, each one bringing him closer to the power core Kara had pointed. Tio. It was the backup line feeding energy into the Council's final weapon, a failsafe hidden deep inside the moon built to erase all evidence if the hybrids ever rebelled. Now that Kara had begun waking them, the weapon had triggered itself. And they were running out of time. Jace had no powers, no advanced mind link like Kara, but what he did have was training, instinct, and grit. As he neared the chamber, he met resistance defense bots, tall and fast, with red eyes and spinning blades. He didn't stop. His rifle barked bright blue fire, each shot blasting through armor and circuits. He ducked low under a swinging blade, rolled to the side, and planted a charge on a support beam. The blast cleared the way, sending debris flying, and he leapt through the dust cloud into the core room. The backup line pulsed with glowing red light, humming louder with each second. He saw the connection point, a glowing cylinder surrounded by moving shields. Lasers flickered in tight patterns, protecting the line like a spinning cage. Jace didn't wait. He pulled a cable from his belt, linked it to his wrist unit, and activated the disruptor. The device shimmered in his hand. He ran toward the line, dodging lasers, jumping between energy waves. And when he reached the cylinder, he drove the disruptor straight into the base. Sparks exploded. The humming stuttered. Lights flickered. At the same time, Kara stood at the center of the hybrid control chamber, her arms raised, her whole body glowing. The war code surged through her, too fast and too hot. Her voice had no sound, but it rang in the minds of the hybrids across the moon. Wake up. You're free. You're not machines. You're alive. One by one, capsules across the control moon opened. Silver-skinned figures, some like Kara, others different tall. Short, old, young, all stepped out of their stasis pods. They blinked at the lights, confused, but they felt Kara in their minds, guiding them. Many collapsed from weakness. Some stood immediately, ready. The older models had gone quiet with time, but Kara reached out to them with warmth and strength. She gave them something they had never felt before, choice, but it was killing her. Her veins glowed too brightly now. Her heartbeat thudded like thunder in her ears. Her legs shook. Her body had never been meant to carry so much power, not for this long, but she refused to stop. She held the connection with all her will, even as the pain took over. Behind her, the main gate blasted open, and enemy troops stormed in Xenthian warriors in shining armor, council elites with heavy weapons. They opened fire, but the newly awakened hybrids moved as one. A wall of them formed, standing in front of Kara. They took the hits and responded with a wave of force, bending air and metal. The battle inside the moon had begun. Then the weapon's energy dropped. The hum faded. Jace's disruptor had worked. Kara felt it instantly. The failsafe. Weapons countdown froze. The destructive pulse faded into silence. The danger to the moon had passed, but the larger war had just started. Through the high windows, Kara could see space lighting up as the Council fleet arrived. Dozens of ships, maybe hundreds, came out of jump at once, blocky cruisers, deadly destroyers, sleek command ships. They formed a wall in orbit, aiming their weapons at the control moon. The Council was ready to burn the whole moon down. They would rather destroy everything than let the hybrids live. Kara turned to Jace, who had just returned, blood on his face and smoke rising from his jacket. "They're here," she said. He looked at the screens and nodded. "Let them come." Kara called out to the hybrids, her voice steady despite the pain. "You don't have to fight," she said. But if you do, now is the time. Many stepped forward without hesitation. Some reached out to machines and weapons in the walls, which responded to their minds. Old defense systems powered up. Broken drones rebooted. Ships buried inside the moon began to move again, controlled by minds instead of hands. Jace climbed to the command platform beside Kara. "We'll take the fight to them," he said. "Where?" "Not going to wait here and be crushed." Kara reached into the systems one last time. She linked the control moon's old drives to the minds of the hybrids. Together, they brought the moon itself to life. It began to shift, slowly rising from orbit, turning into a war platform with teeth. Engines long dormant fired up again. Ancient weapons powered by hybrid energy came online. Kara's body burned from inside as she linked herself into every system, connecting thousands of minds into one stream of thought. "Let's show them," she whispered, "that we were never broken. We were just waiting." Outside the council, ships began their attack, but the control moon fired back, and from it, a fleet of hybrid-piloted vessels rose like a wave, and the storm had only just begun. The space around the control moon turned into a battlefield of fire and light. Council warships opened fire first, raining down blue energy blasts from orbit, trying to destroy the rising moon before it could fully activate. But the hybrids were ready. The once silent control moon now moved like a living giant. Engines deep inside it roared to life, shifting its position, rotating defense towers, and firing massive plasma beams back into space. Kara stood at the center of it all, eyes glowing, her body surrounded by streams of light as she held the minds of hundreds of hybrids together in perfect connection. They were not soldiers anymore, they were a family, and she was their voice, their shield, and their fire. Jace stood beside her on the command platform, directing the main weapon systems and flight paths. Though he could not feel what the hybrids did, he understood her strength. He saw the pain in her face, the sweat on her brow, the flickers of blood at the corners of her eyes, but she never let go. From hangars hidden inside the moon's shell, ships began launching small, fast vessels controlled not by pilots, but by hybrid minds. They moved in perfect patterns, dodging enemy fire, striking hard and fast. The Council fleet tried to surround them, but the hybrids were faster and smarter. Kara guided them like a storm, turning their thoughts into movement, their hope into power. Jace watched one Council destroyer explode into bright light as 3 hybrid ships tore through its engines. Another ship tried to retreat, but Kara forced open its comms and spoke to them with calm fire. "You called us failures. You called us broken. We are neither." The crew panicked, their systems going dark as Kara took control and shut them down from inside. Still, the Council kept coming. More ships jumped into the sector. Carriers launched waves of automated drones. Elite fighters with AI-assisted targeting systems raced toward the control moon. Kara strained harder. She was already pushing beyond her limits. Her fingers twitched. Her skin shimmered, and her legs nearly gave out. Jace caught her before she fell and eased her into the co-chair. "You can't burn yourself out," he said. "You've done enough." But Kara shook her head, her voice barely above a whisper. "Not yet. They're scared. That's why they're fighting so hard. But if we stop now, they'll just come back stronger. We have to finish it." At that moment, a warning flared. Across the screens, one of the Council's largest ships, a Dread Reaper-class command vessel, was charging its planet cracker cannon, a weapon designed to shatter moons. If it fired, the control moon and everyone inside it would be gone. Kara saw it and focused everything she had on one final task, disabling that cannon. She reached into the war code, calling out to the strongest minds among the hybrids. "With me," she whispered. A small group responded, their power linking with hers. Together, they launched themselves toward the Dread Reaper in a stolen. Carrier.JACE watched them go, unable to follow. He knew this was something he couldn't help with, not with weapons or commands, but Kara wasn't alone. As her ship neared the Dread Reaper, its defense systems opened fire. She and the others dodged blast after blast, flying through burning wreckage and walls of heat. Then Kara did something no one expected. She let go of her own body. She pushed her mind fully into the enemy ship, slipping through firewalls, ignoring pain, passing through machines like wind. Inside the Dread Reaper's core systems, she fought the AI in control. It was fast and cold, but Kara was faster. She overwhelmed it with thousands of voices, hybrid minds all working as one. The AI tried to shut her out, but she cracked it open and silenced it. The planet cracker cannon stopped charging. Its energy core turned cold. The enemy commander on the bridge stared in horror as his screens turned to black dot, and then the hybrid struck. Kara's group disabled the ship from the inside, locking its weapons, shutting down engines, and turning its own security drones against the crew. The Dread Reaper, the pride of the Council fleet, fell quiet. No more energy pulsed from its core. No more weapons fired. It drifted in space, dead metal. Back on the control moon, Jace saw the change. The battle began to shift. Council ships that had fought hard now started to retreat. Others hesitated, their commanders unsure. Kara's voice, carried through the comms, spoke once more to every ship in range. "We are alive, we are free, and we will not serve you." It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. Some council ships surrendered. Others fled. The battle didn't end with a final explosion, it ended with silence. The kind of silence that came only when something greater had just happened. Kara returned to her body slowly. She opened her eyes and gasped for air. Jace knelt beside her, holding her steady. "You did it," he said softly. "You saved them." Kara looked up at him, her face pale and tired, but a small smile on her lips. "Not just me," she whispered, "all of us." Outside, the moon floated quietly now, scarred but alive. Around it, hybrid ships returned in perfect formation. And in the dark beyond, the stars began to shine brighter. The battle was over, but the galaxy was forever changed. The control moon, once a silent prison, now drifted in calm orbit above Zenthia Prime, no longer controlled by the Council, but by the minds of those once trapped inside it. Kara sat in the command chamber, her body weak and pale, every breath a struggle. The war code had pushed her far beyond her limits, and though she was alive, the light in her silver eyes had dimmed. Jay stayed by her side, refusing to leave her even for a moment. He had fought beside her, protected her, and now he waited with her as the new world slowly began to form around them. The hybrids, now fully awake, moved through the halls of the moon, helping each other, learning to speak again, to walk, to think freely. Some were frightened. Some were angry. Many didn't even know who they were outside of the Council's control. Kara spoke to them with patience and kindness, sharing her own pain, her memories, and her hope. Slowly, she helped them remember they were more than weapons. They were people. They were alive. Word of the Council's defeat spread fast. Human colonies across the stars, once pushed into the shadows, lifted their heads. They had been called weak and primitive, but now they saw something greater, the strength of one human and one hybrid who stood together. On distant planets, rebels who had long fought for freedom lit beacons in the sky. Messages arrived at the control moon, some offering support, others asking for help. Kara read them all and answered the same way. You are not alone anymore. The Council tried to deny the loss. They sent messages claiming the battle had been staged, that the hybrids were dangerous, unstable, that humanity had broken galactic law. But fewer and fewer people listened. The Dread Reaper, the Council's strongest ship, was now in hybrid. Hands and every system knew a dot inside the control moon. A new council was forming, not of rulers, but of voices. Kara chose not to lead with power, but with care. She asked for ideas, for choices. Hybrids of all types, some with strange skin, others with glowing marks, sat together and made plans for a future where no child would be built to kill, where no mind would be locked away. Jace was offered a place among them, a high seat in the new command, but he shook his head. "I didn't come to rule," he said. "I just came to help someone who needed a chance." Kara looked at him then, truly looked at him, and her eyes filled with something soft. "Then stay," she said. "Help me build what comes next." They stood together on the outer platform of the moon, looking out at the stars. Ships drifted quietly nearby, some council ships that had surrendered and now chose peace. Some hybrid ships now glowing with new colors and symbols, and a few old human vessels arriving with crews that had followed Jace's signal across space. The galaxy, once so divided, now seemed closer. Kara leaned against Jace as a cool wind moved through the artificial air. "I can still feel them," she whispered, "the ones we couldn't save. The minds that faded in their sleep." "I hear them like echoes," Jace nodded. "We'll honor them. Every step we take now is for them too." Kara smiled, small and tired, but real. "You were the first person who looked at me and didn't see a weapon," she said. "You opened my capsule and everything changed." Jace reached out, gently touching her hand. "You were never worthless, Kara. You were just waiting for the right moment to rise." That night, for the first time, the control moon shone not with defense lights or battle scans, but with soft white lanterns. The hybrids released them into space, floating lights to remember the fallen. Each one carried a name, a memory, a promise. Kara stood at the center, her head bowed, her body weak but her presence stronger than ever. As the lanterns drifted among the stars, Jace knew the war wasn't truly over. The Council still held many planets. There would be more fights, more battles, more resistance. But this was the turning point. The moment when the galaxy saw what humanity and the hybrids could do together. When the lights faded into the chaos stars, Kara turned to Jace and said, "Tomorrow we begin again." And he answered, "Together." The Valkyrie, now repaired and stronger than before, stood ready nearby, not as a ship of escape, but as a vessel of peace and strength. Kara would fly again, not to flee, but to reach the far corners of the stars, to find others like her, and to build a world where no child would ever be thrown away. She had been called worthless. She had been locked in a capsule and buried in the trash of a dying empire. But a human found her. A human opened the door. And now, because of that one choice, a new future had begun for her, for him, and for the stars.